All right, yogis. We're going to start on our back in a supported position. My favorite is the restorative fish. There is a restorative bridge. There's also legs up the wall if you want to do that, or a bolster somewhere underneath your back could be an easier or different option. You could put a bolster underneath your lower back arch. You could put a bolster along your spine for a very soft position. But again, putting the block underneath the chest is my go-to here to start. So after yesterday's crazy practice, right, just a little bit more of, some kind of structured fundamentals. After we have a very athletic approach toward yoga, we take a little bit more of like a healing, balancing style of yoga, I like to think of it, where we do some very harmonizing contraction stretches in the body, all right? I like to bring the soles of the feet together, knees open. Start to enhance my meditative awareness. Starting to connect to my breath, become very present with myself. You're starting to breathe a little deeper, bringing the breath into the abdomen. Maybe even holding the breath, squeezing your pelvic floor. If you'd like a little extra here in the end, you can reach your arms beyond your ears, taking a nice full body stretch into the underarms, the chest. Take about another 30, 45 seconds here. All right, yogis, take your time if you need a little more time, all right? Slowly exiting position, making your way onto your back to start practice. Let's take about a minute just for warm-up light movements, massaging lower back, circling knees, bending and straightening knees, rolling ankles. Again, all regulars today, so I just run through some suggestions. One of my favorites here is the windshield wiping of the knees, rotating the hips, stretching out the core. But anything else is fine, right? Be intuitive as possible. Right into bridges this morning, placing our feet down. Remember, after an athletic, awkward class yesterday, some more structured, harmonizing, balancing exercises, all right? I'm gonna take a block between my thighs because I had my thighs open. They stretch, so let's strengthen them. Arms down, lower back down, press through big toe heels, nice bridge. It's a warm-up round, turning on muscles, so you don't have to go too strenuous. Posterior tilt, knee flexion, and then lower down after a nice pause. So you go up and down a few times with a nice pause or even pulse in between. You get one round of bridges in. There's many ways to do it, right? You could move your arms with your body here. You could, even if you're feeling great, do a one-legged movement. But I would think movement would be a little better here. You're going to get the massage aspects. You're going to get more blood flow than just maybe holding. All right. So
Couple more up and down. We're thinking about 6, maybe 10, or even 15 rounds. You can't overdo bridge. Remember that. It's so fantastic. You know, I people often how often should you do this? Well, every day. You don't take a day off from sitting, right, for hours. So this is such a good one to kind of counter the aspects of sitting within the hip flexor area, and it's just so good. It's strengthening your lower back uh, and your hips. You just really can't beat it. It's just too awesome. All right. No rush here, yogis. I see one or two of you look done. We'll bring our knees into our chest next. Remember, I'm just a little more guiding you here rather than directing you exactly. All right. Just kind of you move through the space. And then we're going to do our therapeutic rotation. We're going to bring our knees into our chest. We're going to drop our knees over to the left. I want you to roll all the way onto your left side. Reach your left arm out. That's your bottom arm. Reach your right arm out on top. That's your top arm. And then boom, big inhale. Right arm goes up and open as you turn from your core into the twist, into the reclining twist. Okay? And then you exhale, you close the twist. Inhale, right arm up and open. It's important, guys, that we do take time to do these subtle things. Okay? Exhale. Inhale. You can feel the massage now in your outer left shoulder and upper back. Exhale. Inhale. Okay, last 2 or 3. And it depends on how you feel. This feels very open on me today, not restricted. Feel pretty good. So, I wouldn't necessarily do as many. If I was in class right now, I might do something stronger, where I kind of do the knee crossing. But again, I keep it simple on Saturdays or Sundays. When you're ready, you can hold the twist if you'd like. We tend to do that more often here. You can take a breath or two there, breathing into your lower back, your hips, especially if you feel extra tightness. Like I said, I don't feel extra tightness today, so I wouldn't maybe do that, okay? We'll go to the second side whenever you're ready, all right? It kind of looks like this to start, and then inhale here. Exhale here. Inhale, twist. You want to remember that the idea between parasympathetic nervous system and sympathetic is usually called fight or flight. Parasympathetic is called rest and repair or rest and digest. So you're warming up for an intense exercise routine. You have the objective of strengthening or cardio. You really don't want to turn on your parasympathetic too much, right? So resting, stretching in the beginning of a class where we tend to activate is not really ideal. You really want to, the first thing that sympathetic nervous system does is increase heart rate, breath rate, body temperature. And that's really what you want if you're trying to sweat, strengthen. Don't get me wrong, we don't want to let that get out of hand. We do want the parasympathetic involved. But in the beginning, we're thinking about these kind of sympathetic traits of heat, energy, wake you up, let's get going, right? So, a stretch here and there is good, right? But not too much. Let's meet back in center. Whenever you're done, you hold your stretch, you're making it your own. I kind of keep moving through the exercises. All right, so we got 2 options here. First big movement, first core crunch, all right? You're either here, inhaling, exhaling, okay? Kind of alternating the knees. I'm kind of squeezing. Just a little bit faster. If you're feeling good, you could do legs straight like this. Notice how I did start to add a little bend. Now, I am feeling very tight in this, I notice. So I'm taking it easy, right? I'm not forcing anything. Okay, I'm giving a little pulse, trying to hold my crunch. If this is all too much, you could do something like this too.
okay? Where my lower back stays down, I'm really moving those legs individually. Last few. You should feel it around your lower abdomen, your psoas, right? Your hip flexors.
We didn't really do too much there yet. So I want to get some blood flowing through the biggest muscles in the body there, the front hips. Psoas is your strongest hip flexor. And we got to make sure we kind of turn that thing on each class, whether it's a plank, even cat cow does it pretty well, but a movement through the shortening of the front hip area. Okay. Nice. And some of these are doing some different things. That's great. If you're feeling good, you push harder. If you're feeling tired, you try to find an easier way to do this, right? There's millions of ways probably here, right? So when you're ready, let's bring our knees into our chest. I want one little last stretch for you. It's the figure 4, the right ankle atop left knee. Simple Sundays. This is, again, one of those things like bridge that's just classic, awesome. Make sure our IT band and hip is loosening up just a little bit in case there's any tension from yesterday's practice. If you want to add anything, full pigeon, Gomukhasana. If you want to do, nice, a bridge here also. It's still basically the same, but you get a little more activation. All right. So we'll switch sides at your pace. You're kind of painting your own picture. I'm just kind of consistently mentioning things here and then suggesting something next. Just keep breathing, yogis, and try to stay present with your body. And to close out anything on the back here, I just want kind of through one set of everything. If you do want to do another bridge or a double leg swing or another twist or stretch, feel free. Happy baby or plow. Intermediate yoga, you kind of go to plow pretty early. Any intermediate class, they often do. If we start in the back, you do find that plow where you swing your legs up over your body. But that is very challenging. Big flexibility, it's weight tension. So the weight of the body is kind of pulling things long. And be easy with that. It is kind of a unique stretch there. All right, and then, no rush here, guys. We're gonna rock forward and back whenever you're done, making our way up to seated position.
And I'm gonna bring you right around the tabletop. And I do want to get a little bit more movement through the spine. I don't think we did cat cows in a week here. So, it's always good to get the hyper kind of really intentional movement through your core. Even though we do a lot of stuff in yoga that looks like this, there's not really a great substitute for the cat cow. Okay, you really get your spinal extension and then your spinal flexion. It's like the biggest pelvic tilt of class where that tailbone sticks up in a way and then tucks under. So you do a couple cat cows here. And then after you do your cat cow forward and back, you take a few kind of like circular motions at the core. So it's that first really big kind of exploratory movement. We'll meet back in tabletop whenever you're ready. We're gonna do a little wrist opener here. The fingers turn around to face the knees. So they go outward toward the knees, leaning a little back and forward. I'm just gonna give you a couple breaths in each of these. You find where you need it most and add extra time. Fingers turn forward, but now they turn inward.
So we did a external hyper-rotation. Now it's an internal or medial rotation. My fingers are facing inward. And you notice here I'm turning the elbow creases kind of forward, which is pulling the outer wrist from the outer hand. Last few moments. So I'm not really moving my body to get the stretch. I'm more moving the rotational quality of my arm to get the stretch. It's very subtle to see here. Next part, fingers forward, the palm lift. I keep my forefingers down, lift my palm and my thumb. So from the side here, yogis, I lift my palm and my thumb. So I will show you up close.
My forefingers stay down, so this is the floor. You see that? So my forefingers stay down. To show you like your hand is here. So if this block was the floor, my thumb is lifting, but stretching out the palm itself. It's called the palm lift. Really good stuff, especially if you're doing stuff like lifting weights. We don't do like too much fists in yoga, so we don't get that as much, but it's a really important one as well to stretch out the finger through the hand, the palm. Okay, you should feel kind of a sharp sensation through the hand. So yeah, this is called the MP joint, the big knuckle. That stays down. So in essence, you're going like this. Okay, see that stretch through the hand there.
I got one more little position here before our downward dog. Oh, no, I'm sorry, we got one more wrist stretch too here. It's the back of the wrist. And this is the one that yogis need the most probably, is the back of the hand, palm face up, fingers face the knees. So you can see, you see the back of my wrist now. You don't see my fingers as much. And I'm straightening the elbow crease, rolling it forward. Let's take this time, again, kind of simple, slow Sundays to get into these spaces we're not giving enough attention to.
So in essence, now you're going like this, right? See how it's the back of the hand? And I notice, wow, my left wrist is way more sore than my right. So I'm not sure what I did, but something going on there. Which means I'm not even going to do my right, really. You know, my right felt pretty fine. The stretch isn't very difficult for me, but I noticed I went into my right quick for the demo and I was like, something hurting in there. So now I'm just holding my left. That's how you can personalize it for your body. Try to look at that idea. You're trying to get better at personalizing it for your body, that process. Not better at just following like a yoga clone, all right? You're open to me and you know, sometimes it is good to do things you don't need or want also, but so too often we're kind of trapped in this idea like you have to do exactly like the teacher says, all right?
Here we go. Last little part here is to sit on our heels. I want to stretch our ankles out. This is called the Vajra. We often start in this posture. Hands behind you, please. Intertwine your fingers, kind of roll your shoulders back, intense here, squeezing the upper back together. So I'm trying to pull my chest forward as much as possible. I'm trying to roll my shoulders kind of back and down so I get space from the underarm, chest, and the arm. This can be a tough one if you're not used to sitting on the ankles, all right? Last part here, you can release your arms. After you start to feel a little kind of achy or pinching, pull your head back, tuck your chin. The slowest you can, bring your right ear to your right shoulder, so you're drawing this really slow, big circle with the neck. Okay, so my left ear is going toward my left shoulder, then forward, my chin is tucking down to the left, and then I neutralize center, chin down, and then I'm going to go back the other way. So the chin goes toward the front of my left shoulder. I start to roll my kind of ear to the back of my left shoulder. My chin moves up. Try to relax the shoulders down. And then I'm going right ear to the back of the right shoulder. Chin to the front of the right shoulder. And just do like 2 more. If you can, try to stay on your ankles. Big ankle stretch here. So it's not like,
Are there times to do fast neck circles? Yes, but we often start like this, kind of slow swiveling, it's called, and then you could gradually build up the size of the circle. But we're actually kind of starting in the big circle, but it's slow. Okay, like how detailed can you become of the neck situation right now? Basically, if you're going to do like full range in your neck to start, slower is safer, right? And after you go, 2, 3 times each direction, you're going to hit the down dog. So plant your hands, shake your feet out a little bit, do some feel good movements in there. Even yoga, even this style is too structured. A lot of exercise is very like sticky and like, let's call it like crunchy in the body. Like say you're doing rows and push-ups and, bench press and curl, all these like exercises. It's kind of like making everything stuck, sticky, tight. Kind of find these, dance, like a lot of like creative movements. I try to do that somewhat in practice, but you got to move a lot more freely. All right. We're going to do something like that coming up shortly. Downward dog. And, take a few moments to stretch out the back of your ankles, your toes, particularly the big toe. You don't want your big toe getting tight or weak, but, move it here, bend it, straighten it, move your hips a little side to side. And that's that first, what we call frontal inversion, right? If it's too much, you could do child pose. And you're pedaling those feet out here, moving a little extra. After that, you take a few deep breaths, just kind of holding the position, right? Really focus on deep inhale in your nose, deep exhale. And feel the breath right in the nasal go straight to the eyes and the prefrontal lobes, the prefrontal cortex, the front of the brain here. And that's the part of your brain for attitude, personality, critical thinking, problem solving, heightened intelligence and creativity. So you want to stay in that position and breathe. And you can kind of feel that energy of the body, the blood going in there. Now we're going to take a couple of chaturangas here. If you want to do them on your knees, if you want to do child pose to cobra, if you want to do knees, chest, chin, or extra push-ups, I want you to get into that space for a few minutes. It's like full body, front and back, up and down. So you know what to do here. Everyone's a regular. I'm not going to cue you. The bait is, if you've cooked a dish 1,000 times, you don't need to be told how to do it anymore. Right? You just go right into it and you add your own flavors in there, how you like it. But also, sometimes you got to try new flavors, and get out to decide how you always do it. All right. So last few here, guys. We're not going to do many. I like to say like 5 to 10. And always remember that if you're feeling tight and achy, those first few might not feel great, but as you get into it more, your 5th, your 10th, your 15th round, it might actually feel a lot better. You ever start running and those first 5 minutes hurt, and then all of a sudden you're 20 minutes in, you have all this energy, it feels good. So you got to remember that. You got to get over the first tier of uncomfort often in exercise. And that's what happens to a lot of people. They kind of like start exercising and then they're not inspired because how they feel, and they don't get past that first kind of achiness or fatigue. So remember that, right? I'll remind you. I felt not great yesterday. Yeah, I felt okay. But I was like, should I go exercise? Should I take the day off? And then I went and I ended up doing like a ton. And I was feeling not great in the beginning. Not that I was feeling bad, but just not like ideal for a really strong day. I did like a super, peak day yesterday. 10 sets of weighted squats, right? So I got over that first hump of difficulty, and I'm so happy I went, because I was gonna just kind of relax. All right, guys, listen, next time you're in the downward dog, we're gonna walk our feet to the front of our mat, take that little forward bend here at the front of our mat. And you know what I like to suggest is some swaying side to side. There's twists here, there's binds. I like to often, when the back of my neck feels tight, when I'm doing like a lot of massage, my head is forward and down. So I'll stretch that out. So in the forward bend at the front of your mat, I'll take my hands behind my head and kind of pinch the chin of the chest and traction it, which means I'm pulling the back of the skull away from my upper back. All right, so that's a nice little method there that I like to use often, especially if you can't do like plow, right? It's kind of a substitute. So what we're going to do today, guys, is I've been trying to express this idea of simple movements. And when I warm up and exercise, I started, if I'm doing peak squats yesterday, I went around, I just dribble the basketball around and shoot and run and cut. I did it for like 15 minutes, not hard, but I break a sweat, right? It's all this side to side, complex movement. And then what I did is second layer dynamic movement. So a lot of the yoga movements you know and do, but then I did this thing. Okay, let's stand up. I want you to think free movement. Now, this isn't like classic yoga, but it is and should be probably. So I want you to widen your feet. I want you to think squats. I want you to think lunges. I want you to think lateral pushes, pulls, forwards and backs, up and downs. I'm going to start to give you some structure. Do it with you. You can't follow me exactly, so I'm going to bend my knees. All right? And just to start simple, I'm going to inhale to one side. Take a lunge, take a few bounces. I'm going to circle my arms. So you can see I'm kind of doing a big circle. Okay, and then I'm going to bring my arms up and straighten my legs and down. So we're doing a little bit of artistic practice, right? Okay, now I'm going to go to the second side here. I'm going to start to bounce. I'm going to circle my arms the other way. So when I do peak exercise, well, I always do dynamic like this in some way, not always this free, right? And then I'm going to kind of bend my knees and get low. My arms are swinging. Okay, and then I'm going to come back to center. I'm going to get low in my first squat here, arms up, and I like to do the big arm circle. Okay, you could lean forward more too if you want. But look at how my spine doesn't really round. Getting you moving a little bit here, yogis. Our practice has been slow and more like what they call like simple or isolated positions, where there are little parts of your body we're targeting. Now we're getting full body, okay? Next little thing here, yogis, is I start to pivot, push, and pull. You see me pivoting on the feet? Nice, looking good. Yes, some of you are already getting more creative. This is still kind of too structured, right? And then my feet come back parallel. I start to go up with the right, up with the left, get into that side body. We haven't really done much there yet. Yeah, do whatever you want right now. Move that body, okay? Now listen, then I pivot back forward. I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to bring the high knee up. I'm going to bring it back. High knees are fantastic. I basically do them to some extent every day. Like say I'm at the gym and I'm warming up non-parasympathetic, right? I do not want to slow my heart rate. I'm trying to sweat, let's say. And I'm not laying down.
You know, we did in our back, the movement of the knees into the chest. You do that, right? Second side, I pivot to the second side, and I'm moving those arms. Keep moving because we're going to hold the balance, right? So we're going to get there. We're going to be holding. I want that heart rate to increase. Often yoga does lack that, like peak heart rate. So it's, unless you're in like a super power class in like a heated room where they keep going, and I tend not to teach like that, okay? All right, next thing here, yogis, I'm just gonna stand up. And this is a pretty big movement. It's the up and down. So it's the hinge, and then you kind of inhale up and down. So I'll tend to go like this too, up and down. So now it's like very symmetrical. I am back bending slightly as I go up. You can even do this here if you'd like. Separate your feet or the arms. Make sure you understand that you need to stabilize your core here pretty good to start. So I'm kind of drawing some big circles. It's the same thing, but I'm coming in from a more lateral, rotational angle. So I'm just asking you to move your body a little bit more. I've been doing this one this week. We're now, no rush. I separate the feet. I reach my arms up. So I'm just kind of inhaling up.
Exhaling the opposite hand to the opposite foot, or even just like thigh. I tend to I'm pretty flexible, so I tend to reach for like my foot easily. I'm not going to hurt myself probably bending over and rotating, but is that one of the most easy ways to hurt your back? It is. Bending over, rotating, especially like fast, right? So, we've done a pretty good warm up for the core, both tensing and stretching. We've already moved complex through the core in many ways. So, it's just like bending over the kitchen. You're not ready to bend over and twist and pick up that thing you just dropped, right? But you do it. We don't want to be like too soft on the body. We don't want to get this idea that it's fragile, because it's not. It's very strong. It's very capable. And you want to keep that idea.
All right, yogis. Let's stand up. There's a nice good 5+ minutes of movement there. Take a breath here, stand up. Balance. I'm going to do the bent knee balance today, all right? Sit into your chair. So I want one good sturdy leg strengthener here. Bend the knees, and I'm just going to hover one foot. So it's a chair with one foot hovering. I try to bend my standing knee more, and I try to pull my left knee up more. Okay, take a few breaths here.
So my right foot was down. Try to really have that equal weight distribution in the right foot. It feels so much better. If you have too much weight in your heel or your toes, there's a lot more like tension, strain through one of the muscular lines. So can you find the midline? It's called, like, center your weight the best over your standing leg. And notice if you tend to like lean to the side too much, that's also going to be not efficient. The goal is to basically hold this as long as you can. Some of us might be able to hold this for a few minutes, so I'm not going to hold it that long. So that's why I say bend the knee more. So you have to work more, and we can kind of get the same results in a shorter time. Okay. Second side, you put that left foot down. Yeah, you shake it out if you want, and then the right foot hovers. You get those styles of yoga, where you get yelled at if you shake it out in between. I don't know if any of you are familiar with those. You don't really see it at the Bay Club or Equinox. So you gotta go into these kind of cult-like yoga studios for those. But it is fantastic, also, that style here and there, if you can handle it. But you get yelled at and kicked out of class if you do your own thing, or You're paying them money and they kick you out of class, right? So we're balancing. It's called a bent knee balance. Usually that's considered a little bit more functional than the lock straight knee, like say something like a tree. And we don't really do it enough probably. Now notice your left leg might be a little more unstable on the average person. Remember the flight or fight response. The way our bodies work is when you strain, stress, fear, surprised, one side of your body tends to guard and lock. One, right? So you'll tense like your right side, for me, for example, more, which means that's my stronger side, like my power side. It's good to notice that about yourself, the imbalances and the neurological muscular imbalance, and apply a little bit more strength to your weaker side. And then they say that causes neural imbalance. So if the reason that's why we do it more, if you tense your right side up, remember the decussation of pyramids in the brain, how your left side controls your right. So my left side, surprisingly, is the imbalanced side, or more firing. That's why I'm like a weirdo and I'm out there. Or the left side is the the left side is the analytical, right? So here we go. Let's slowly stand up.
Now we do the straight leg hinge. So this was upright bend, straight leg hinge. Right foot down. I'm just gonna do warrior 3. If you wanna do anything else, that's fine, okay? Hinge. You can do like up, down here. We do this one a lot. I try to mix it in every 2 weeks or so, where we're kind of going in and out here. We already did the knee up and back, remember, but have some fun in your practice. Couple more breaths.
Static poses like this are really good at slowing down and feeling much more subtle body awareness. You can like slow down, feel how you're working each little muscle and joint area. You can feel your tendencies more. Whereas if we move all the time, it's more difficult for me to feel the subtle nuances of what I'm doing. So just notice that. Like yesterday, I actually did like some pulls, and I do the same idea. Like I do some reps, but then I was like holding the pull, the row. I was just holding it and like closing my eyes and feeling my back, turning it on more. My shoulders had to relax down. Applying the same yoga principles to that. All right. Let's do our second side. I see a few of you is already resting. Don't forget that you can do standing splits here. One-legged warrior 3 squatting. Advanced warrior 3 is where you lift your standing heel. Just proceed with caution. That will strain the bottom of your foot potentially. Come on, warrior 3. Some type of one-legged one-legged balance, okay? I don't think too many of you. Who was in class yesterday? Anyone? Raise your hand. Was anyone in class yesterday? Steven, you were? Brian too, yeah. That was a difficult one, right? Kathy? Yeah, that was a difficult one where we did a lot of strenuous stuff and like fast twitch stuff. So you just see you hold warrior 3 now and kind of like tight, new exercises and very like weird complex ones. They tend to like irritate things on like these edges of muscles to stabilize areas that you're not accustomed to. When you exercise hard, you're damaging, right? So this kind of just like harnesses, like pulls it back in, and like it engages a muscle in like I keep saying that word, harmony, and like a safe kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of brings it back together, like boom, where it was like all over the place. Now it's like that muscle engages in its memory way, okay?
Nice job, yogis. Take a breath here. So we did lunges and hinges, all right? I want to do one more here now. I tried to teach this a few times. This one is moving. It's lateral, okay? There are more ways to do this. We don't ever do it like this because I don't know if everyone has blocks. And unless you have a firm block, so you can do it like this, look. I drop my left heel down, which laterally tilts my pelvis. So look, here my hands are on my hips, watch. I drop my heel down, I lift it up.
So you can do it like this, but since we don't have blocks, the way I usually teach this is like this. So tree, but it's like I get lazy and I let my hips flop to the right, and then I boom, pull them to the left. This is one I want to try to get in like once a month at least. I usually throw a few of these in my warm-up. You know, if I don't do like lateral leg swings, if I don't do like, you know, movements here, if I don't abduct, adduct. So just to be clear, guys, it's like you go like this, and then you go, the action's that, but you're on one leg, okay? So this is our, you could say this is half moon work, right? Same thing, hips to the right, left. You feel that outer glute really hit. So we're stabilizing that hip well after yesterday's craziness. It looks like this is moving, but it's not. I'm not doing this. This is still. This is still, yogis. The hips move. See from the side, you can't really see it because it's what's called coronal. It looks like my top leg is doing some action, but it's not. It's just moving because my pelvis. When I look at a lot of you guys, it looks like you're swinging your top leg around. That is not it, but it's all right. No big deal anyway. You'll get it. It's all a learning process. So second side, you should feel your outer standing hip burn, okay? Right here. Second side. And I want you to notice this in particular. You're gonna have one leg that's probably a lot stronger, or let's say better at activating. And I want you to notice that and slow down and really try to activate that part. You know, that's the idea. Your brain, your nervous system isn't connected as well to that side. So what do you have to do? You have to slow your brain down, connect your conscious brain to the body part, try to feel it more subtly. That's how you get the neuromuscular connection enhanced. You ever see somebody, they'll, you know, it's like for like, they do it like constantly and they still, that left side is way weaker. There's still less, you know, connection, and it takes a lot of resilience. You got to really slow down and step into that moment with that weaker side and feel more. Mine's my left side pretty much for everything. I've had some, you know, I've only broken bones in my right wrist and hand, and that's caused some things. What else did I do? You know, my left like hamstring has been tending to be like pulled and strained. I tend to get like injuries on that side too. Does everyone feel that in the outer hip? Everyone feel that? So that's a weight bearing. A lot of times I'll have you lay on your side and do like a lateral leg lift. Yesterday we bent over like this and brought it out, right? So sometimes we do it like this. Side plank is also pretty good at that type of stabilization, all right? So I want to do one more little thing here, yogis. And now after the warrior three, it's the stillness. I want fast twitch movements, okay? So arms go up. Look at this. It's a little jump. We did this yesterday too, right? So a little trend this weekend. Look at this. It's a little jump, and I want you to keep going, okay? Something we don't do as yogis ever. We're not comfortable jumping. So that's an imbalance. You know, look, I'm just jumping like a quarter inch, just barely getting my feet up. You can get height if you want, but make it smooth. Okay, last few. Come on, yogis. We always ask, you know, children to do uncomfortable things that challenge them for years, and then all of a sudden we become adults, and we sometimes stop that. We got to do things that are uncomfortable also. It's really good for us, all right? Nice job. Slowly, top of your mat. Yogi squat. So I'm not going to teach the sun salutations today. You're more than welcome to do one of those and meet us in yogi squat. So you take a breath here, squeeze your pelvic floor, lift your heart.
So I want to go into a little bit of like back work, all right?
So we're gonna step back through plank. We're gonna lay on our chest. Sorry guys, I lost you. What's going on here? My Adobe wants to update, so I lost you. Oh, there we go.
So listen, guys, I'm not going to do a ton of like planks today. You can add some in if you want while I demo. So what we're going to do now is our alternating transverse back tensions. I want you to remember, guys, that your lat crosses your lower back, thoracolumbar fascia, and it connects to glute maximus in the fascial line. So our arms go wide, okay? You lay on the ground, and then you're going to inhale, lift your right leg, left arm, and your chest. But I'm not lifting or pressing really down. I do have activation in my right arm and left leg. Just so you can see, right? It's left arm and right leg. Then you lower down after that nice pause, just like we did in bridge. You lift, right arm and left leg. And you pause up in there, you work, you feel. Then you lower down. First side, right leg, left arm. Lower down, right arm, left leg.
Continue, yogis. Ideally, you're getting to about 6 per side, minimum. You do less reps because you're holding the action longer. You won't be able to do, if we were just flying up and down, you'd be able to do 20 or 30, but the goal is to have a stable body, but be able to move it well through range of motion, right? So this is more in your stabilizing category. Don't over crank your neck though, all right? And you're gonna feel your lower back turning on. Remember, I said the lat crosses your lower back to your hip. And so that's most likely in this line where we're the weakest. It's really not easy to train your lumbar extension, your lower back arch. I do a lot of like twisting for it, some lateral stuff. That movement we did standing laterally where I said get lazy, pull your hips to the opposite, that's lower back too, but it's really hard to like isolate it because your glutes can take over, your abs can take over. Little gentle cobras are one of my favorite simple ways. Okay, now listen, I see some of you is already resting, some of you is still going. Remember to move at your pace. So take a little breather, kind of windshield wipe your knees if you need. Now we're gonna do the double arm and the double leg. All right, this one's more strenuous. You might need to hold less, but I do want that idea of moving, holding, lowering down slowly about 3/4 and then going back up. All right, so let's do it when you're ready. Now I'm realizing I forgot something standing that I wanted to do, but it happens on, maybe for a reason. So let's do everything now. Arms and legs lift. Same thing. You're trying to get to about 6 or to wherever your body has difficulty, and you try like 1 or 2 more after you really want to quit. Okay. Yeah. Legs, arms, chest. Try to lift your legs from the hip and point your toe more. Don't jerk up into this. All right. Just move slow. It's not about how high can you go. It's about quality muscular contractions. So today I had your arms forward. Just to switch it up, remember that arms wide is pec minor reciprocal inhibition. Arms up at the angle, so a 45-degree angle from your ears, it's pec minor. And we tend to do less of that in yoga. Rightfully so though, because pec major is an enormous muscle that's stuck short on the average person. I'd be willing to bet pec major is stuck short on like 3 out of 4 people. Muscles stuck in a tightened, locked, shortened form, which means it's pulling a bone towards another bone, right? In its action. That's what muscles do. They pull bone towards another bone. And that movement happens at a joint. Okay, I see some of you are still going. I think one or two of you look like you're done. It's a tough one. Okay. So take a moment just to kind of rest. If you want to do like a cobra up dog, you did some chaturangas earlier, that's fine. I'm just going to do the 2 rounds today. A lot of days I do, if you do really well, contractions, lower back, right? You don't want to do maybe like 5 rounds. You'd be too much, more consistency as opposed to doing too much just 1 day a week. All right. So child pose might be good here after that. So we didn't do many lunges. I want to do, we did figure 4. So I want to do lunge. I want to strengthen our piriformis and our glute today in the outer line. So the IT band line and the shin line. So we're going to do pigeon, but as a strengthening position. Okay. So you're going to come in down dog here. You're going to meet back up there. And, you're welcome to add anything. If you want to lift your leg up here, I tend to do that a lot. You kind of open up your hip. Some days I just skip all through that though. If you do bridges and certain other exercises, you don't need to do the leg lift here, but it might feel good to you this morning. So what we're going to do, yogis, is meet with our right shin forward between our hands. Okay, so I'm going to use my blocks because, again, I want to think of this today, guys, as a strengthener, to strengthen what we always stretch. So look what I do first. My right shin is forward. Look at the back foot. I reach my back toes back. I lift the knee. I pull the knee and the body back. I walk my hands back. I reach the left foot back, pull the body back, hands go back. All right, so I'm using my hands. One's outside my knee thigh, one's outside my right foot. I want to press the outer edge of my right foot down actively at the ankle joint. So it's called pronation. I want to press my right shin down. Now look at my back foot. The toes are tucked. I'm walking it to the right, the more center of my mat. I want to activate my left thigh, lift my left knee, pull my left heel back, roll my shoulders back, lift my heart. So I am eventually not using my hands. It is a lunge, pigeon, or a strengthening variation. A few more breaths, please. So this whole outer shin, hip, thigh, out up to the sacrum, SI joint is stabilizing, not just stretching. Looks good, everyone I can see. I've showed the piriformis tensions I do. When I got my training done in anatomy, I realized that these imbalances were happening in the muscles via some tendencies in yoga. All right, so let's do it. Second side, shake it out. That can be a pretty uncomfortable and achy position. I don't want you to do too much this first day if it's been a while. So please do your second side. Lift the left leg for a moment. That's kind of like a counter. Pigeon is where your knee comes in and goes across the front. Leg lift up and open is where your leg goes back and across. It lengthens kind of the space you'll be squeezing. So it's good to do that between. You can do an extra chaturanga if you want. So take another few moments. It looks like some of you are already in it. Now, does my shin need to be parallel to the front edge of my mat? No, I can't do that. I still can't even get close, really. It's different. That's why we did figure 4. That's more of the parallel shin, where now I'm doing more of the angled shin. Now, yogis, press the outer edge of your left foot down, but first crawl your right foot back. So there's a bone in the outer ankle called the malleoli. It's that big bone there. So when I'm doing this, guys, you press your left foot down so much, it's almost like your malleoli lifts like a quarter inch, okay? So the right foot is crawling back. You're tucking your back toes, lifting your back knee. That's your knee extension of class. And then I'm lifting the chest up, pulling my navel up, yogis. You have to really lift from your core. My knee is hovering. Okay, last few breaths here. Pressing the outer left shin and foot down. Strength, strength. Challenge. we do get like advanced in this too. You start to do chest hinges, you start to lift up and down. And there's even more as people start to like move, but there's a good space to tweak your back. So let's start easy, right? No reason to go too crazy here. This is doing the job. Basically, you make it dynamic, like unstable. So like you'd be here, then you start to move like your core forward and back, or up and down, a little twist and move your arms. And that's gonna like have to teach your body to stabilize in a more complex way. But again, maybe you skip that for today, but I'll just mention it, remind you. You make very stable positions unstable to further challenge and grow the muscles. All right. When you're done, left leg back, shake it out for a moment. Okay. All right, so we're gonna go into a stretch now. It's kind of like the opposite almost, right? It's the frog. It's a big stretch today. We haven't really done it in a while, and I do it quite regularly. You're gonna need extra padding.
So what we're gonna stretch is the inner thighs here, yogis. We didn't really do triangle or straddle. We did the straddle toe touch. So I'm gonna put an extra padding down. If you're on a rug, you're good, but you need padding for your inner knees. So I'm gonna turn to the side, widen my feet and my knees, turn my toes in and out. See how my toes are facing, outward. Now I slide my knees apart, come down to my forearms. I say this in class constantly. Do not bring your hips forward, but 5 people do it. Body awareness is the name of the game in the beginning of yoga. All right, so from the side, my hips are in line with my knees. So people do this. This is not it. Here. Okay? Your knees are sliding apart. So just if you need one more visual, you're laying down, you're kind of like this, right? You're on your forearms, the inner knees are being pushed open. So let's breathe here. Big old stretch now.
The goal is to get your knees further apart. If you just tense your inner thighs to not let your legs slide apart, you're not doing it. We want the bilateral traction of the adductor magnus, it's called. Remember that your adductors connect to your psoas. So if you have the tight hip flexors, you need this, and it's probably going to be very difficult. And I remember when I started this stretch, 10 years ago or something, and it was just horrible getting in and out. It hurt in it. I was like, what am I doing right now? And now I can just pop in and out of it like any time. It doesn't hurt like it used to. I've talked about the reprogramming of the nervous system. It hurts initially because it's a protection mechanism, but over time you change how the sensory neurons are interpreting the sensation. So the pain receptors stop firing, all right? Your body is designed, it's crazy. This is an exact quote from the neuroscience. Your body is designed to turn pain into pleasure. So, when you see people doing weird things like pain on their body and they like it, your body is like meant to do that. Obviously, that's probably taken too far sometimes. So, nice job. You can hold longer if you're not. I don't want to do the whole yin approach right now. I want to do a big twist because we haven't gone there yet. And that is a huge abduction. There is the rotational quality. And I'd like you to have like a pillow for this if you have one, guys.
If you don't have a pillow, I want you to hold a big twist. We didn't really hold one as a group today. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna put my blocks behind me with the blanket. It kind of acts like a bolster. I'm gonna keep moving forward here. So this is called the Kundalini twist. We've done it many times in the past. My feet are way wider than my mat. My knee's not right. My left knee is not close to my right heel. So everyone does this. It's not it. My left thigh goes back. See that? See the space? I'll show you in a moment from another angle. I turn my chest to the right, to the back. My hands now frame my bolster, my pillow, and I lay down here, okay? And I'm gonna let the body sit into the twist. My left thigh goes back away. From the other angle here, guys, my bolster is behind me. My legs are wide. My knee's not right. My left thigh goes back, okay? I turn my chest to the back, turn, adjust, fidget, and then lay down on that prop. I really want you to go into the big breathing today.
So both knees are a 90-degree angle, right? Your knees aren't like doing weird subconscious things. And you're trying to now go into a little bit more of our breathing practice. So a nice big inhale into your abdomen, lower back. As the inhale continues, it's going into your lower ribs and middle back. And as the inhale finishes, it's like your underarms, upper back, upper chest, and even collarbones, like the top of your shoulder girdle here. Then you big exhale, okay? Last few moments here on this first side. Okay, and then no rush, we're gonna switch sides. You know that yogis, the idea is to free up the true transverse. So,
You know, when you see somebody who's losing mobility in their body, they can't turn like this a lot, right? See this? And what happened, you know, see my hips will turn like crazy too, like my spiral legs. You know, people will get into this thing where they have to like turn like this. It's like if you have a stiff neck, right? You can't turn your neck. That happens throughout the spine, the whole spine. And then we end up having to like turn like this, right? So the goal is to free up this a lot. So we do our second side, knees knock left and turn to the left to the back.
and you get about a minute here, so a little bit more of a meditative hold. Try to relax a little bit, all right? So yogis, we did like a big inner thigh stretch. You did your twist stretch here. I was thinking one big front body stretch. Easy would be like restorative bridge. Strong, stronger would be something like bow, laying on your chest, reaching back, grabbing your ankles and kicking. Camel would be even maybe bigger than bow. On your knees, upright, hands on your hips, lift your chest, hips forward. There's also like Virasana, sitting between your heels or on your heels, leaning back further. I like kind of one big front body stretch. You could also do like frog, lay on your chest, sphinx, and reach back for your right foot, push the heel toward the hip. So, what's kind of calling to you for final back bend of class here? I mentioned a couple bigger variations and I mentioned a couple easier. So how about we do one more? It's a front body stretch. Virasana, camel, bow, restorative bridge, block under your hips. In case you never do restorative bridge, I'm not teaching many soft classes right now. So Sunday will be that space where we do a little extra stretching and a little extra kind of, like I say, subtle, easier forms. Yogis often say back bends, but I like to describe it more as a front body stretch. I like frog and virasana because the knees bend, so you get your shin more and your quadricep more through the hip flexor. Whereas something like camel is very hip flexor dominant and chest dominant, abdomen. Bow is very similar. You will get more. Bow is a really good one if you can learn to stretch into it, but it's not easy for the average person to stretch there. Okay, so let me give you one more minute for our final back bend. Bow and camel can be fantastic shoulder stretches as well, if you can find it there. So we did pretty good, yogis. We got the ankles pretty well, the neck today, the wrists, even the hands. Did some other interesting little approaches. So listen, guys, we have about 7 minutes left in class. So I'm going to suggest after you do this last few moments in your back bend, is there one more pose that we didn't do? You can't do everything. So what's something that you wish we did? You can do that now. So take about another minute and a half, 2 minutes. If you want to do headstand, we didn't do any of that stuff today, handstand, the big poses there. But one last pose. Medial rotation might be nice if you need one more hip. Shoulder compression laying on your back or your chest opener might be a good one too. What does your body need on this Sunday? One more pose in that space. And then let's meditate together. If I was feeling really good, I would do headstand or, one more handstand or a wheel pose or, strength, right? If I was feeling tired, or stretch, maybe even just a simple breathing exercise. Now some of these are still going. No reason to stop your practice if you're feeling good. Just try to take your shavasana on your own. It is important, guys. We know exercise is damaging to the body and it creates a lot of acid and inflammation. So, calming here in the end can kind of slow some of those effects. And that can be very profound over a lot of days of exercise. So just remember that it does play a really important kind of unique role in what we're doing, just to kind of calm and center. And some studies have shown even if you relax for 2 minutes, it can really slow your heart rate, calm your nerves, and your breath. Okay, parasympathetic. So now we are trying to calm. So you get comfortable if you're doing it now with me. If not, no big deal. And you just let go. You let your body rest. You take a deep breath if you want, but too often you see it in classes, people are breathing deep, sighing, fidgeting in Shavasana. It is inaction. It is a complete release and resting of the mind, body, and breath. All right? So final pose here together, the closing meditation, about 3 to 4 minutes.